hate spoilers. Nothing makes me feel smarter than figuring out who done it before the end of the movie. And since I'm always about 2 seasons behind, I appreciate a good spoiler alert. So, spoiler alert. Someday, every single one of us will die. But even though billions of people have crossed over to the other side, not a single one has found the time to come back and tell us what it's like out there. Sure, some people report near-death experiences, but those typically only last for a few minutes. I'm talking about what happens when our bodies and our souls leave this life for good. I'm dying to know, what happens after we die? Every culture has its theories about what happens after death. Theory being the key word here, because let's be real, no one actually knows for sure. But here's where it gets a little complicated, because the question, what happens after death, actually contains a bunch of sub-questions, like one of those Russian nesting dolls. So if the big mama doll question is what happens after we die, then you gotta consider that it's not just our bodies that leave the earth, it's also our souls. And that leads to a whole other list of questions, like what even is a soul? And what happens to it when our bodies are gone? Gah, too many layers. So let's start with the body. First things first, the hangout sesh. After someone dies, we assign a guardian to chill with the body, nonstop, around the clock till they're buried. And because the body can't eat or drink or do anything fun, the guardian doesn't either. It's a way to not shame the body.
Solidarity.
To be clear, Jewish burials should ideally take place no more than 24 hours after someone dies. So it's not like the guardian is starving for weeks next to a decomposing body, especially because guardians can switch off, thankfully. Whew, that's gotta be a grim task. But if you're like, nope, still weird, why does a body need a guardian? Fair question, so let's break it down. First off, Judaism takes the sanctity of a body very seriously. We treat dead bodies with utmost respect. The guardian is there to keep away creeps, bugs, rats, ghosts, who or what might be messing with the deceased. These are all worst-case scenarios, and most guardians don't have to deal with them.
Oh, that's a relief.
But all guardians have a second job too, which is to support the soul as it's making its way out of the body. In Jewish tradition, the soul and body have a deep connection, like the sun and earth, parents and kids, Mondays and coffee. They need each other. It's gotta be rough splitting up after a lifetime together. So we don't leave the soul alone in its moment of need. Even in death, even if we can't see or fully understand the process the soul is going through, the Jewish people show up for one another. In fact, the Hebrew word for funeral literally means accompaniment, as the community accompanies body and soul on their final journey. For the body, that journey ends with the burial, when the body is returned to the ground. The human body relies on the senses for information, right? We're constantly bombarded with smells, sights, tastes, sounds, touch, so our brain developed all sorts of tricks to help us efficiently process this overload of stimuli. For example, did you ever notice that you don't actually see your own nose unless you go looking for it? Weird, right? Your brain actually deletes it from your sight, showing you only what it wants you to see. And it cleans up useless information that you don't need. Which is why you probably don't remember what you ate for breakfast last week. Though for some reason, my brain never seems to get rid of those embarrassing memories from high school that still make me cringe at 2 a.m. What is that about? Overall though, the brain is pretty amazing, even when it forces you to remember stuff you don't want to. But the soul is amazing too. Where the brain strives for efficiency, the soul remembers everything. Plus it takes in all kinds of stuff we don't see or even understand. You don't notice what you don't notice. After a whole lifetime of absorbing all sorts of metaphysical information that our brains can't even comprehend, the soul's got a lot on its metaphorical plate. Sure, it absorbed some beautiful things over a lifetime, moments of holiness and joy and loving kindness, but it also took on some not so pure things. There's a lot of negativity in the world. Well, that's another spoiler for you. So when the soul finally leaves the body, it's time for a metaphysical juice cleanse to purge all the negative stuff that piled up over its time on Earth. And this phase is called Gehenom, which is often translated in English as hell, because just like an earthly juice cleanse, the process isn't so pleasant. But hell isn't really a Jewish concept. There are no demons or lakes of fire or eternal suffering. Instead, in Gehenom, your soul has to confront the shame and humiliation and regret from its time on earth. It looks back on all the things you could have done better, all the choices you should have made. Basically, it's me at 2 a.m. cringing about all the dumb stuff I did 15 years ago, even though no one else remembers it. So yeah, Gehenom sounds like a real hoot.
That sounds awful.
How long does the soul relive the worst moments of your life? That depends on how much negativity it accumulated. Most souls are good to go after around 11 months, though really burdened souls might take a full year. And once the soul is squeaky clean, it can move on to stage 2, the world to come. What is the world to come? That depends on who you ask. No one really agrees, and here's why. Number 1, we're Jews. Debating with each other sort of our thing. Number 2, there's no way to know for sure, given that no one's come back from the other side yet. And number 3, our brains can't really comprehend how our souls work. And the world to come is all soul. We're too bound up in our physical bodies and limited language to fully understand whatever comes next. So we're not entirely sure what happens to the soul after death, but we do know what happens to the family and loved ones left behind. They're a part of this journey too. Grief is transformative, and Judaism is full of rituals to help you transition into your new reality. Now, anyone can feel deep grief, but the rituals I'm about to describe are reserved for the death of a parent, a child, a sibling, or a spouse. That doesn't mean you can't mourn the death of, say, a mentor or a dear friend. Of course you can and should. But your mourning process will be more private and less ritualized. As soon as the loved one dies, the mourner, whether a parent, a child, a sibling, or a spouse, rips whatever shirt they're wearing. If a parent dies, they rip it on the left side. Anyone else, they rip it on the right. It's a cathartic process, like punching a pillow, but more permanent, because it signals to everyone, I am mourning. Acknowledge that. That's exactly what happens next. Right after the burial, everyone at the funeral surrounds the mourner, as though to signal, we got you. And then everyone heads to the mourner's house, where they'll start their intense week of mourning, known as shiva. These 7 days are an opportunity to show support for the mourners and to remember and celebrate the deceased. The mourners usually sit on low stools as if to say, hey, I'm feeling low here.
They're shiva chairs. You sit low to the ground as a sign of mourning.
Everything's different in a shiva house because life is different once a loved one dies. And the mourners just experienced a permanent change. So over the next week, everything they do or don't do reflects that. To start, mourners don't go to work or try to pretend everything is normal. It isn't. And there are both internal and external ways to demonstrate that, like lighting a special candle in memory of the deceased that burns for 7 days, or covering the mirrors as if to demonstrate that this is the time to turn inward and focus on what's inside, because now isn't the time to worry about a bad hair day. Or receiving visitors who often bring food. Come on, we're Jews. Of course there's gonna be food. Mourners shouldn't have to think about meals when they're experiencing the worst moment of their lives. Visitors also bring comfort in the form of stories and memories about the deceased. Throughout the next year, the mourner moves through the different stages of grief. There's the public intensity of that first week, the private rituals of the first month, and the prayers of the first year. 3 times a day for the next 11 months, the mourners say a special prayer publicly to acknowledge the person who died. But it's not a gloomy prayer. It never mentions death. Instead, it reiterates that God is the source of all life. And you need a community to say it, because Judaism acknowledges that over these 11 months of mourning, you're gonna need communal support. The ritual forces you to go out in public 3 times a day and seek out your people, even if you don't feel like it because you're grieving and everything sucks. But the prayer isn't just to make the mourner feel better or to show how dedicated they are to the memory of their loved one. It has an effect on the departed soul too, like a little boost of peace and comfort, which I can only imagine feels really good while the soul is in Gehenom. All of these rituals help the mourner adjust to their new life without their loved one, their new status as a person who has lost someone. We might not fully understand the journey of our souls, but we do understand the importance of community, of marking transitions, of carving out a space for grief. And it's comforting to know that no matter what happens next, you're never alone. Whether you're the one leaving or the one left behind, your people are with you every step of the way.